people in. People are just popping in by the looks of things, Claire.
I see there's 16 people waiting to enter.
All right. Are we all in, Claire?
I don't think we've let everyone in from the meeting room, have we?
Oh,
Admit all.
middle. There you go.
Now they're in. Well, they'll
That
start
helps.
to come in.
All right.
People can come in like during the session as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Claire, did
Yeah.
you want to admit people as they pop up at the top of the screen?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, you're in the right place. This is the Oceania Building Bridges to Cross the Planetary Health Chasm workshop. We are recording the session, and please feel free to introduce yourself and name the place you're dialing in from in the chat box. But without further ado, I'd like to hand immediately to Karen Jackson, Associate Provost, Indigenous, Victoria University, Australia. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hello, everyone. In acknowledging country today, I pay my deep respect to the ancestors, elders, and families of the Boomerang and Woiwurrung of the Kulin. I acknowledge their commitment to land, people, and cultural practice, and to their willingness to welcome people onto their unceded lands. I'm acknowledging also the ongoing impact of colonisation to our country on all Aboriginal people, our bodies, minds and spirits, and the ongoing grief and trauma carried by those of us without connection to country. To me, one of the things an acknowledgement of country is meant to do is engage you to think deeply about and understand who the traditional owners of land are where you work and live. As we may transition back to a semblance of normal activity, I would ask that you find out who the traditional owners are and pay respect to their ancestors and elders and acknowledge their connection to those lands each time you walk on and through those spaces. Again, I pay my deepest respect to the ancestors, elders and families of the Boomerang and Woiwurrung as the traditional owners of land of where I am located today. I acknowledge their country as the place where their strength remains and their history and stories are still found in the landscape. I also acknowledge every traditional owner on whose land you are all dialing in from today, and any other Aboriginal people in this virtual room. In terms of Indigenous planetary health, I'd like to quickly talk about how VU has embarked on a new journey into planetary health. The VU commitment is to the well-being of people, of place, and of our planet, and recognition that through our actions, we can make a difference. We have made a whole of university commitment to planetary health. We are committed to planetary health research with impact, learning that creates future leaders, making sustainable choices about the way that we work on our campuses, and engaging with our communities to find innovative solutions to complex planetary health challenges. What captures my imagination in this journey is the strong reference to place-based planetary health. This is because, as an Aboriginal person, I am inherently connected to country, ancestral country, and language group location. And this connection is spiritual. It is embedded in my ways of being, knowing, and doing, and it is, of course, place-based. But I can also be embodied in my connection to country in the west of Melbourne. I am not a traditional owner of these lands, but my work and that of planetary health at VU can and will have an impact to this location, this place, and its diverse communities. As I just mentioned, place is important in also finding sustainable solutions. in taking a place-based approach, we can emphasise the importance of context and focus upon co-designing socially equitable local solutions. This is the work we at VU are embarking on. Importantly, privileging place also reminds us to engage respectfully and to care for country. At VU, we have agreed to respect and recognise sovereignty in centering Aboriginal ways of knowing, being and doing on country. Because for me, the significance of place is intimately linked with Aboriginal people's connection to country and how these connections remain impacted by colonisation and ongoing colonialism. I know that the loss of connection to country is a deep grief felt by many Aboriginal people in community. I look forward to projects and work that enables Aboriginal community in the west of Melbourne to walk on country, to practice connection to country, to share and create story of country, and then hopefully to be brave and loud and feel safe enough within VU to share these knowledges and teach others. For me, if the land is healthy, it makes the people healthy. And if people are healthy, they can make the land healthy. So in finishing, I just want to remind you what I started off with. Aboriginal people are inherently connected to country, ancestral country and language group location. It is a connection that is spiritual, that is embodied in our ways of being, knowing and doing, and it is place-based. If you believe in planetary health, then you need to also deeply listen to Aboriginal voice, and you need to take the time to do this work with us. Thank you.
Karen, I think I'm saying thank you on everyone's behalf for the Indigenous-led planetary health thinking and to centre us and the workshop in Indigenous-led planetary health thinking. I'd also like to acknowledge I'm on the lands of the people of the languages of the Kulin Nation, Yakalut Willem, which is the river dwellers in west of Melbourne in Victoria. Claire, I wonder if you might share the agenda. Fabulous. As you can see, it's a jam-packed agenda. It's ambitious, but we will ensure that there's time for people to pick up the mic and have those important conversations in the Oceania region. Just by quick explanation, my name is Rebecca Patrick and my colleague Claire Henderson-Wilson. Claire's just given us a wave chairing the session today. We're really pleased that you've taken the time to join the conversation in the Oceania. Just in very brief summary, the agenda is split around two parts. We have a series of rapid fire talks, which constitutes updates and inspirations from the region, followed by a question and answer with the panel members. We'll have that all-important wellbeing break, and during that time we'll share a video from Susan Prescott, who will talk us through connectivity and provide some inspiration from her work in planetary health. In part two of the session, following on from the 2.0 launch of the Hubs in Planetary Health Alliance, which I think was run on Sunday, we're going to have a planning conversation for Oceania where we'll break out and into smaller groups and progress that conversation. And we have two colleagues that will warm us up for those conversations in that second part. Apart from the agenda, just some housekeeping. We're all professionals now at Zoom conversations and engagement, but when you're not speaking, please stay on mute, use the raise the hand function, and also please, as I can see people have already done, use the chat box to let us know who you are and what place you're dialing in from today. When we do have the interactive parts, it'll be really nice if you can to pop your video in so we can all look at each other and help support the conversation. Again, to our guest speakers, I'll do a brief introduction of you all. You'll share your slides and then you'll hear the 4-minute 30 tinkle, which suggests that you have 30 seconds left. So that's the agenda. Claire, can you move me on to the next slide? So part 1, updates and inspiration from the region. First of all, to lead us out, we have Donald Wilson, who is Associate Dean Research and also Director of Fiji Institute of Pacific Health Research at Fiji National University. Donald, we'll hand over to you and we'll take down our slides. Thanks, Donald.
I can just see Donald's just reconnecting, Rebecca, so I'm sure he'll be joining us very soon.
Sorry, Rebecca. I just fell right out of the face of the earth. Yeah.
You're back. Thanks, Donald.
So is it my turn now, Rebecca?
Yes, it is. Thanks, Donald.
Thank you. Sorry. Let me just share my screen. All right, thank you. Bulavanaka, everyone. My name is Donald Wilson. I'm the Associate Dean for Research at the College of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences at the Fiji National University. I'm also the Director of the newly established Fiji Institute of Pacific Health Research that was only established last 2019, end of 2019. I'm very grateful to the organizers of the meeting for extending the invitation to contribute to this Planetary Health in Oceania session. While I can probably speak mostly to Fiji's situation, my presentation also attempts to set the platform for opportunities that we might be able to have to work across the Pacific Island countries on planetary health. So as some background, the main health threats, I'm fully aware of time and I'll just quickly try and run through these slides very quickly. The main health threats in the region are related both directly and indirectly to the rapidly changing social and environmental settings. And so we particularly still have infectious diseases relating to water pollution and poor sanitation and zoonotic diseases that are related to large numbers of subsistence livestock animals and informal animal husbandry practices. And the urban transmission is also central to the NCD crisis, which we currently still have. And obesity and diabetes are still rising disproportionately faster in the Pacific region over the past 3 decades and in the rest of the world. I think this is an important backdrop for us, that the Pacific Health Ministers meeting, and you might have heard of the Yanuda Declaration of 1995, and this is what, so when I said that we have goals and aspirations, hopefully for Fiji and the Pacific going forward, is to try and comply with these great goals of the 1995 Yanuda Declaration, and that's to see places under these, under the Yanuda Island Declaration, that our children are nurtured in body and mind, environments invite learning and leisure, people work and age with dignity, there is ecological balance, which is a source of pride for us, and that the ocean which sustains us is protected. And central to this understanding of the Healthy Islands concept is the sense of its ownership by the people of the Pacific, by the Pacific, and that it is unique to the Pacific. And this vision is only now being realized, but its connection to health, environmental, and the Pacific cultural concepts, I think, are importantly synonymous. And so when we're talking about health promotion in our settings, the practical expressions in healthy cities, healthy villages, and healthy schools and healthy markets are also important. So the Pacific Islands, or Healthy Islands, has been a strong regional identity for us. But it's only been partially successful in building cohesion and trust with countries and other stakeholders from other sectors. And so the other thing I think that you might have heard of is something that's called building the Blue Continent. And so now with the push for Pacific regionalization and self-determined development, the dream that we have will hopefully support the Blue Pacific continent. And I think you're also aware of, so the vision that we also have very much aligns and directly responds to this urgent mandate from the global and regional forums for consolidated platform for the Pacific Island countries to respond to regional health impacts and action on human, animal, and environmental health, natural resource management, and indigenous local knowledge. So this really requires a lot of long-term vision and sufficient funding to be able to drive a truly transformative research agenda. And so here is our dream. And this is what we're calling it. Tandra, Tandra in Fijian means to dream. And Vanua, this is a term that's used across the Pacific as well. They're very close, Vanua or Fonua or Whenua, Enua. And these are Pacific-wide terms that are acknowledging that material, biological, social, and cultural dimensions are inextricably interrelated, and they're recognized as a Pacific model for health and well-being. And so this is what we wanted to be, Tandra Vanua, to be leading on public Pacific and planetary health action research. And this is something that's really excited us about. Just in closing, this is the Fiji Institute of Pacific Health Research. When this was established, this is our structure. You'll see under the field, so we've got 4 active research centers. Under there is the Planetary Health Research Center, which we're hoping is going to build on what we have. You've probably heard of the RISE project. You've probably heard of the WISH project. These are also built under this structure. And so this Tandra Vanua concept, or the Tandra Vanua dream, it'll build on the existing relevant investments that we have by global philanthropic bodies and development agencies in the region, such as the RISE and the WISH projects, and also with the Fiji Institute of Pacific Health Research to lead in the region, hopefully, by appropriate approaches to sustainable health. And we hope that this becomes an action research hub that weaves the research centers together while networking with the most influential academic and policy architecture in the region. Sorry for rushing through that. I just thought this was an opportunity for me to put this out there. So thank you again for the opportunity. Vinaka.
Thank you, Donald, and thank you for sharing that Tandra Vanua approach, the Pacific model for sustainable health. Next presenter I'd like to welcome, as we take down the slides, is Margot Parks, who is Honorary Professor, Department of Preventative and Social Medicine at the University of Otago in New Zealand. She also holds a position at the University of British Columbia. And Margot is also the co-lead of the Environmental Community Health Observatory Network. Thanks again, Margot.
Kia ora koutou. It's really a great pleasure to be here. I'm also going to share a slide here. My name is Margot Parks, and it's wonderful to see this group gathered. I'm imagining people all around parts of Oceania, the planet. I am, as Rebecca mentioned, an honorary professor at the University of Otago in the territory of the Ngaitahu, where I grew up. But I also spend a considerable part of my time at University of Northern British Columbia on the Leyte territory. And so in the weaving across the Pacific, I'm going to share some ideas. I've been asked to talk about this challenge of leadership at this time of confluence. And Donald, it's so inspiring to hear your vision, the expression of that leadership manifesting in your precious part of the world. And what I'm going to task you all to do in this next while is to look at these 2 images, which are facing the Pacific. The one on the right-hand side is actually looking up to a motu, moturata. Motu is a word that's all throughout Polynesia. It's all throughout Oceania. And it's reminding us of our connection as we look, as I stood and taking that photo last week, north and west throughout this extraordinary region. But I want you all to think about the assets that you bring to this wider conversation. So on either of these images, whether it's the one on the left, the strands of your own work that are streaming together and connecting with other people's, or whether it's the image on your right, which branch of this kelp, which branch of this ocean piece is your branch, and to think about the things that you are also bringing together to this work. It's very important as we look at a time of planetary health that we think about convergence, that we think about confluence as the coming together of things. And so in my work, one of the reasons I've been invited to contribute here is I have had many chapters of engagement with different communities, different efforts to bring our work together, to honour the living systems that our health and well-being depends on, to connect with the first peoples of the territories that we're working on, to learn of those ancient wisdoms, and to bring those together in a way that's moving forward. So whether it is a lot of my work, as many of you know, or some of you know, has been in the context of watersheds, of land, water, health and wellbeing connections, whether that's across Aotearoa, in different parts of the Pacific, in Hawaii for some time, and now more often in northern British Columbia. So in these images, I see threads of watershed work, land, water, health work connecting towards a larger body of work. But I've also been very much involved with the eco-health community, a community that has several decades of assets, of experience across the Oceania region, and also in other parts of the world. I'm the co-founder of the Canadian Community of Practice and Ecosystem Approaches to Health. I've been very involved in the EcoHealth Oceania efforts as part of EcoHealth International, and those are part of the assets and the strengths that we bring to this broader work of planetary health. And I would encourage us, strongly encourage us, as we recognize the momentum that's emerging with the planetary health movement, with the planetary health momentum, that we don't, in the grasping of the new language, lose the assets that we've already cultivated. And for me personally, one of the reasons to put this image of a motu, an island, in my goal is, for me, planetary health is not a field, it's a goal. It's a goal that all of my past work is working towards, which is that we're looking at our island, our planetary island. I'm channeling Nainoa Thompson for those of you that were at the Stanford Planetary Health Conference a few years ago, who talked about the way in which we were understanding our planet as an island in space. And so we're talking about all working together towards that goal. In the next slide, in this next image, I want you to think about what it is that is the kind of leadership we need in the wake of all of that important work. And one of those kinds of leadership is the bringing together of things. I'm quoting, this is a beautiful quote around the leadership needed today is to weave the people together so that they can work together in a united, coordinated way to achieve their common goal. It is not about power and authority. It is about humility and courage. Humility to see that if we're to meet the challenges at a time, we need to work together, and courage is what is needed to take the lead and bringing people together to achieve that. So all of you that are finding ways to connect work, I really commend you for that effort, and I encourage you to look around and see what assets you can bring to this new phase of work that's such an important part of this effort in Oceania. Oceania, as we know, has a region that has a lot of assets to bring to this global conversation, whether it's throughout the South Pacific, from Aotearoa, New Zealand, where I'm from across this extraordinary Australian continent and beyond. We've got a particular contribution because of our biodiversity, our history, the amazing strength of cultural and language, other assets that we're bringing, and an imperative because of many of us, our island and our coastal nature. So as we do this work in talking about confluence, I would encourage you to think about how you will do your part in bringing and looking around to see what, building on what's been done in the past, as well as we look together this goal of planetary health. And in our work, whether it's in Canada, across Oceania and elsewhere, we're really moving to figure out and focus on co-benefits, about figuring out what is working to link planetary health and doing more of what's working and not only studying what isn't working. So that's another thread in terms of these images, if we can imagine channeling those co-benefits from different parts of the planet towards this next work. So with that, I'm looking forward to the discussion later, and I really appreciate the chance to encourage us all to think of our work as part of that convergence and what assets you're bringing to that wider conversation. Thank you. Fiona.
Thanks, Margot. I always appreciate your energy and point of view, and thanks for taking us through convergence, confluence and weaving of networks. Okay, the next presenter I'd like to welcome is Fiona Armstrong. She is the founder and executive director of the Climate and Health Alliance in Australia. And the Climate and Health Alliance also looks after the region's global green and healthy hospitals network. Thanks, Fiona.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Just give me a minute while I find my slides.
It's absolutely fine. Take your time, Fiona. Can we help you in any way, Fiona? Do we have a copy at our end?
No, you don't. Just let me try one more time. Can you see those?
We can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for this inspiring conversation, and Donald and Margot for amazing presentations. Absolutely loved those. I just want to say I'm from the Climate and Health Alliance, and we recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the traditional custodians of the land on which we live and work, and acknowledge that sovereignty of the land that we call Australia has never been ceded. So that's our recognition, and our commitment is that we commit to listening to and learning from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and indeed Indigenous people around the world, about how we can better reflect Indigenous ways of being and knowing in our work. So, as I said, excited to be part of this conversation and to share with you some incredible work that is happening, that is in the implementation effort in achieving our goal of planetary health. So the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals Network, the Pacific region, is a program that we are involved in. Just a little bit about Climate and Health Alliance. We are Australia's peak body on climate change and health. We have these 5 pillars for success, one of which I'm going to talk about today, and a goal about the health sector being climate resilient and sustainable. And one of the ways that we go about realising that is through our participation and leadership and coordination of the region of the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals Network in Australia and New Zealand. So this network is an incredible network established by our international partners, Healthcare Without Harm, with members now on every continent, almost 1,500 members, health system, health network members in 72 countries, representing the interests of 43,000, almost 44,000 hospitals and health services. So it's an amazing collaborative network that is built around and working on 10 goals together. So all members, every single one of those members is working on some of these goals that you see here in the goal framework, which are leadership, waste, water, food, buildings, chemicals, energy, transport, pharmaceuticals, and purchasing. Many of those members are working on all of those goals. You can see some images here of some of the people from the networks around the world. In the top left, some of the leaders from Latin America, where there's incredible leadership, and a very active Spanish community, Spanish-speaking community in the global network, almost half of the network Spanish-speaking. There's a massive network in Africa, you can see on the right. In the middle, Sister Arche from the Philippines, from Iloilo province, that I had the privilege to present a workshop on training health professionals last year. And then a picture here on the left of some of our leaders from our network here in Australia, in Sydney. So I'll just move on. Some examples of leadership from this network. are the Hunter New England Local Health District, who recently announced that they will be carbon and waste neutral by 2030. So that's general waste. So this is an incredible commitment. It's a leading commitment in Australia, and it's very exciting to see this enormous local health district with a huge catchment area, many hospitals, soon to be the site of the largest solar array on any hospital in Australia, demonstrating this leadership and commitment to action and showing the way for others. Other examples include in the ACT, where they are already operating on renewable energy, and their Canberra hospital expansion, which will be powered by 100% renewable energy, allowing them to say that they have an all-electric hospital which is not using any fossil fuels. So a huge contribution towards planetary health, improving the health not only of people in that facility, but in the wider community as well. More leadership from organisations such as Ambulance Victoria, with a very distributed set of facilities across the state, with a target of reaching 100% renewable energy by 2025. You're giving me the hurry up, Rebecca? Yep, okay, I'll keep going. Epworth Healthcare acting on food and producing, providing their food waste to produce energy. So that's just a little snapshot of some of the work that's going on, this incredible collaborative network where people are sharing stories, lessons, initiatives, and progress across the world. It's a very positive and collaborative network, one that's exciting to be part of. And if anyone on this call is interested to know more, there's information here on my final slide.
Thanks, Fiona. The Global Green and Healthy Hospitals, wonderful example of what's happening in the region, and also that sort of practitioner space where health professionals are engaged in planetary health work. Our final presenter for this part of the session is Tony Capon, who's held multiple roles in the region and beyond, but he's currently the director of the Monash Sustainable Development Unit here in Victoria. Over to you, Tony. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Rebecca. And I'm conscious of time and the fantastic opening remarks we've had from others already. And perhaps just to add a couple of additional thoughts that while today is convened by our colleagues from Deakin, which is wonderful, at Deakin University, and many of us are in fact from universities, it's really important, given what Margot has said, which I strongly support, that planetary health is a shared goal. It unites us in purpose, that part of what we need to do going forward to engage for planetary health is to make sure we're always thinking about how we engage beyond academia, whether that's government, industry, multilateral organizations, civil society, where Fiona, of course, is based. So that's our challenge. I think it is exciting. While planetary health is a new term in policy and research, it's very clear from the way today has been framed, beginning with Karen, with opening remarks from Donald, that these are not new ideas for Indigenous people. And as Margot said, it's a shared purpose for us all. So perhaps the final thing to say is to note the link to sustainable development and the SDGs, which of course in many countries in our region are a focus at the national level, much less so in Australia, as we know, partly because of the nature of the current Australian government we have, but those goals are also shared goals, and you know, the planetary health is, if you like, the outcome of successful implementation of those goals. So on that note, as I finish, just a link in the chat box to a UNDP issue brief about planetary health and the SDGs, which makes the case for planetary health as a way of implementing the SDGs from this more integrative perspective. So back to you, Rebecca. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tony, for two reasons: for digging us back out of the time hole, but also for noting that this planetary health thinking is certainly not new, but it is a shared goal, and linking us back to the all-important Sustainable Development Goals. I appreciate all of the contributions of our speakers so far. Now it's an opportunity to raise hands or pop questions in the chat box. And I think Claire is just orienting us to that. But Claire, for us to be able to see people, we might need to take that slide down so I can field some questions or responses to what we've discussed so far. Two screens. Anyone want to pop their hand up or a shout out question? Robin Elders. Oops, you've already slipped away. There we go. Given the enormity of the challenges confronting us, how can planetary health and One Health communities coordinate and collaborate better? Thanks, Robin. An important and central question. Anyone from the panel like to respond to that question?
I'm happy to start us off, Rebecca. Robin, such an important question, and I think that one of the subtext behind that confluence message is that we need to and one of the reasons I put up the quote around it's not about power and authority is that at this time of our various efforts, I just think it's so important to not focus on which is the most important branding or the one that is that is winning. And there is a very deep tendency in the Academy to do so, and that I think we can go beyond that. And I do think that regional efforts such as the synergies between, in my mind, that familiar sort of trio of planetary health, One Health, Eco Health, the potential for us to find those synergies in a region where we have particular common work and common projects is very high, and we can demonstrate synergistic efforts rather than having to spend time on figuring out what to call things. So I'm actually really interested in those topic-specific areas. I mentioned the co-benefits work earlier. We had an amazing team gathered around thinking about co-benefits across the Oceania and Canada regions, and we were talking about, and there were planetary health people, One Health people, Eco Health people, all around the table, tabling their assets on the particular project. So when we see people working together on particular projects is when I think we'll feel that synergistic effort. And we can do it regionally. We can do it with the leadership of Indigenous peoples who see those connections, who don't need to separate things out into one silo or another. We can be guided by those that have been finding interconnections as a point of strength rather than competition. So those are the sorts of things that I think we can embody by how we operate.
Thanks, Margot. I can see some vigorous nodding. Karen, did you want to say something, acknowledging you're also part of the panel? Thanks.
Yeah, I guess, so we're sort of currently in this funny little space at VU. Well, it's not really funny anyway, but we're having these conversations around planetary health and caring for country and how all those things actually fit together. And we're still working through what that means. But I agree with Margot. It's definitely not about power and authority. It's about the way that we collaborate and engage with each other in equal relationships. That's much more important. And the way that we do deep listening, Because if we're not listening to each other and growing all of our knowledges on you know, what we've done and where we're going to, then we're just not going to make it together. And if we don't do it together, then, you know, how are we going to make the planet healthy, and how are we going to meet the SDGs? Because it's such a broad range of work that needs to be done. And yes, it is a challenge, but I think we're up for it, and we're all committed, and we're very keen. Yeah, we just need to be mindful of how we do it and how we practice healthy, respectful, equal relationships. So thanks.
Thanks, Robin. Any other responses to, and Robin took us straight to the central question, I think there. Thank you, Robin.
Yes, I think perhaps
Donald and then Tony, yeah.
Sorry about that. I think Robin, the question that Robin posed has the two critical things that we need to do, and that is to collaborate and coordinate. So I know that, and I'll speak for the Pacific, I know that I don't stand for the Pacific, but, you know, at least some of the countries that are in the Pacific, I know from some working relationships that we have. A lot of the countries have work that is happening around the area of planetary health. Some people don't know it as planetary health. Academics may know it as planetary health, but not all of us. This is even new to me as I, you know, figure I'm trying to fit in how leptospirosis and typhoid and things like that are still very endemic to our countries come under, whether it's eco health, One Health, or planetary health. So what are the differences? And these are really practical questions that are still happening in our region of the world. So I think what needs to happen is this collaboration of the work that's already been done by the people that have done it, and take that back to the people, to the countries, and say, this is what we found, and just translating that into what people understand every day. So I think in terms of coordinating and collaborating, there is the importance of collaborating with the countries or with the people themselves. And I speak for, I think, the people in the, maybe not the people in the Pacific, but at least several of the Pacific countries that we work with, and definitely Fiji. Thank you.
Thanks, Donald. Tony, did you have some final comments? And then one from Aaron. Yep.
Just quickly to pick up on the importance of focus on place. Margot mentioned regional perspectives, and that there's obviously various scales. And I think this is where the opportunities to bring people together are around our places, no matter what scale they're at. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Across to Aaron, and then we may have one more, but we can certainly pick up on this conversation in the second half of the meeting. Thanks, Aaron.
Hi. I often get asked this question about, you know, what are the differences between One Health and planetary health and eco health and all these various fields that are at the nexus of environmental change and health. And I've done a couple of lectures on this, and I wrote a bit. And I just wanted to read out one thing that I had written, which was that the important thing for us to consider is to move beyond our disciplinary perspectives of health and well-being to embrace more holistic ways of thinking about and doing public health. And so these key themes that emerge from all these approaches are: there's complex interdependencies among the health of systems, humans, and other species. And we have to engage with this complexity and think about systems that are nested and driving health outcomes across multiple scales and interactions between and within ecosystems and societies. And that all fields must endorse the importance of working across these academic disciplines. We also need to bridge the divisions between, as was said before, scholars and academia and the other actors and sectors by forming collaborations with an array of likely and unlikely allies, including but not limited to grassroots community groups and stakeholders in the public, private, non-profit sectors. And so this is an important means of sharing power, of reconciling conflicting priorities and intentions, and developing more inclusive and equitable intervention strategies. And we also need to be actively advocating for health equity not only for humans, but for other living organisms and ecosystems. And this is an orienting goal that speaks to the need to question the role of our dominant sort of anthropocentric narrative and to reposition our knowledge systems that have been traditionally omitted from the conventional public health approaches. So how we do this is our sort of outstanding issue, if you like. Thanks.
Thanks, Aaron. Sandeep, we'll take one more from you and then we'll move to a wellbeing break.
Hi, Rebecca. So I'll make up my time quickly here and I will cut short on that end. So don't worry, we'll be fine. Because my next job is as a priest and I'm happy to be here in this. And I'll just tell you, one of the things to solve this problem is all of these things, planetary health, eco health, and so on. Human beings like to jump to an identity. That's their nature. And whatever identity they jump to, they like to protect it. I'm that. I'm Australian, I'm Oceania, I am Caribbean. You know, they hold on because they're in a safe place. But if you make the goal and the vision broad enough, and the problems in planetary health are really big problems, and you make that broad enough, those boundaries fall. And I think Sam presented it well yesterday. There's a core of research. You get the researchers together. There's a core of community, and there's a core of advocacy. If we're able to get those different cores and that goal and vision wide enough for each one of them, we'll be good, Rebecca. And I'll be even shorter in my presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Sandeep. We'll certainly continue and lift off from those points that you've made just then. That concludes the first part of the session. Like I said, the promised wellbeing break, all important, halfway through our session. But in the meantime, I will pop on a video from Susan Prescott, who is the president of In Vivo Planetary Health, an inspiring and amazing woman. And I'll pop on the video now, but keep an ear out or have you a cup of tea or water while you're at the screen, and we will also share Susan's video as part of the take-home electronic gift pack after today's session. We'll see you in 5, so we'll kick off again at very precise 53 past 10 my time, so 5 minutes. Thanks, everyone.
Hi everyone. Thanks so very much for inviting me to say a few words on the importance of connectivity, creativity and collaboration. In an era of so many unprecedented changes on all scales, we have many unique opportunities to create and accelerate positive changes for health and flourishing in all systems and on all scales. But for this, we must first move away from the adversarial culture of greed, fear, polarization that has created and perpetuated so many of our grand challenges in the first place. It also means moving away from fragmented, territorial approaches, from rigid, authoritarian attitudes and siloed thinking as major obstacles in overcoming our interconnected grand challenges. These restrict creativity, collaboration, inspiration, and they limit opportunities for imagining completely new ways of being. Instead, we need to promote a culture of mutualism, of trust and authenticity to generate new collaborative opportunities for meaningful growth and shared benefits across all scales, beginning at the grassroots. We need to place far greater value on wisdom and normalise empathy, kindness, hope, love, creativity and respect, the deeper values that unite, empower and refocus our priorities of individuals and groups towards shared solutions. We need networks of connectivity, agile, dynamic support structures, and more creative activities for meaningful change. And what we do in Oceania can be a wonderful example to the world. Interactive activities like this are really important for promoting dialogue, creativity, action and advocacy across so many issues, where the wide-ranging work of all individuals is relevant and integrated, connected and contributing to the wider context, encouraging a sense of belonging and inspiring shared purpose for meaningful progress. All of these things are the philosophies, the vision and the purpose of In Vivo Planetary Health, and we see no boundaries to collaboration with other groups who also seek to build and expand a global network to inspire change across a broad range of so many interconnected issues. The more we connect, the more we can fuel our outward progress and discovery with inner wisdom and creative freedom, supporting and encouraging others to do the same for the flourishing of people, places and planet. So in my final 90 seconds, I'm going to play a video that serves as an invitation to everyone to join our conversations, just as we look forward to more conversations with all of you. Thank you all so very much.
Okay, let's keep rolling. And thank you to Susan Prescott, the power of the arts, the creative arts space as well, to tell the story and draw people to the planetary health goal, and for Aaron for organising that wonderful video from Susan. Okay, welcome to part 2 of the session, Oceania Hub Planning Conversations. To kick us off, and before we move into breakout sessions, we have 2 speakers to open up the conversations. The first of which is Sandeep Maharaji, who is a Global Outreach Fellow at the Planetary Health Alliance. Claire, if you can pop down the slide and we'll hand swiftly over to Sandeep for his short presentation. Thanks, Sandeep.
Thank you very much. And kindly excuse my dress, my attire under thy hat, not thy clothing. And yes, a pleasant good evening. And I wish to thank very much Rebecca and Claire for all the hard work in getting this session up and running, because it's really critical that we move planetary health, where we started off originally with the hubs, as very, very much in indigenous interests that was really, there, and persons running with their own sweat, blood and tears in getting planetary health running in their region. And the whole idea is to make planetary health globally acceptable while locally relevant at the end of the day. And hence we have worked along the SDGs, and I think Tony has given a very beautiful, as usual, piece there on how the UNDP had matched the SDG goals to planetary health, which is very important. And that's why we link the regions according to the SDGs, so there can be some alignment. And obviously one of those areas is Oceania. And we do hope that all of these hubs, which we have put together from sub-Saharan Africa down to the Caribbean, can all find unique linkages. But most important, in finding these linkages, the governance of the hubs must be done and built with the local passion. It must bring equity. It must create and co-create leadership, and at the same time breeds transparency. Without that, we would be starting off on the wrong foot. And if we cannot have that level of transparency, co-creation, and or at the same time have good solid backing, the hubs will not move forward. But Sam has given a very interesting model that he has put out here, which I alluded to earlier. And it's critical that in the hub, we focus, I would say, initially on the core area, and where we are able to really build research, which will translate into education, which will then go out from education into community building. You're not saying you're going to start each one from scratch. Yeah, everybody's at different phases in research, education, and community building. But the hub should really be communities of practice that are strategizing how they can deliver on each one of these areas going forward, and at least set targets where they expect to be going forward. At the same time, making proper societal impact for the private sector, public, and policy making. So it's a lot more complex than that, but given the short time, I will just stop here and be open for further questions thereafter. I hope I was brief enough, Rebecca.
Yes, you're the winner of the shortest presentation, close to Tony's one as well. Congratulations. Thank you for laying the foundations, for which I understand the 2.0 launch was around 2 a.m.-ish Monday morning. Is there a recording that we can access for that, Sandeep?
Yes, the recording will be available to each one tomorrow. That's just been packaged at the moment, as well as any additional data that the terms of reference and so on for hub development will all be available to each and every one, and the package in the upcoming week. We'll be holding short meetings with each hub once they have formalized their process and giving a whole package of information.
Thank you.
Forward.
And as part of the mail out, I'll send a link in with that. Sandeep, yes, we will keep moving on to the next presentation, which is with Aaron Jenkins, and he is a research fellow in planetary health at Edith Cowan University and also the University of Sydney. I hope I got that right, Aaron, both universities. Aaron has done a beautiful pre-recording. Should we still run with that, Aaron? But maybe you just say a quick hello before I pop up your slides.
Hi, everyone. I thought I'd pre-record it just in case there was any technical difficulties, but I might just let it run. So, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Thank you.
Okay.
Greetings, planetary health colleagues. It's with great pleasure that I present the Actions for Policy Dialogue on Planetary Health that were developed as part of the Call to Action produced at the inaugural Oceania Planetary Health Forum held in Nadi, Fiji in early November 2018. The content of this call was gathered from presentations from 24 speakers over 2.5 days and discussions in plenary among 70 attendees from 31 organisations working in the region and beyond. My name is Aaron Jenkins and I'm the inaugural Research Fellow in Planetary Health at the University of Sydney and Edith Cowan University. To deal with persistent, emergent and escalating challenges at the environment and health nexus in the Oceania region, the forum calls for a renewed action orientation for international, intergovernmental and national organisations and individuals to encourage existing networks to establish common platforms, much like what we will discuss today, to facilitate productive dialogue and collaboration between the health and environment sectors and other relevant sectors. To provide the necessary resources to enable joint decision-making across sectors pertinent to health and the environment, like those now being developed for emergency response and preparedness in the face of disease outbreaks and natural disasters, where all relevant government ministries, along with appropriate thematic sectors and stakeholders, are given a seat at the table and work cooperatively to overcome barriers to understanding and success. To establish the necessary legal and administrative arrangements to enable the health, environment, and natural resource management sectors to work and plan together to deal with mutual local and regional concerns, and to mainstream planetary health into routine sectoral dialogue, planning, fund-seeking, and budgeting processes, and within programmatic and institutional structures. To strengthen the Healthy Islands vision and the Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Blue Pacific narrative by developing a suite of reportable indices that will draw from and be aligned with existing reportable and accountability measures, including SDG targets. The Untitled Island Declaration in 1995 created a unifying Healthy Islands vision for Pacific Island countries when 23 years ago on Untitled Island, Fiji, at the first Pacific Health Ministers meeting, the health ministers declared their vision of a healthy islands as places where children are nurtured in body and mind, environments invite learning and leisure, people work and age with dignity, ecological balance is a source of pride, and the ocean which sustains us is protected. This last statement was added after the 1999 meeting in Palau. The Forum recognises Indigenous leadership and local cultural knowledge as foundational and universally meaningful, and actively seeks the engagement of Indigenous leaders in decision-making. We regard the measures above as an essential response to a complex and uncertain world that must be built into the fabric of learning and decision-making, where long-term research is imperative to understanding the interactions between the SDGs, and where adaptive management strategies must be encouraged and supported, and develop and widely communicate the applied research evidence, educational resources, and case study exemplars that promote awareness to guide and motivate positive attitudes and behaviour and support scaled-up actions. This call to action has had and continues to have resonance throughout global and regional policy fora, including the World Conference on Health Promotion, which produced the Rotorua Statement, Waiora, promoting planetary health and sustainable development for all, the Pacific Heads of Health meeting in an information paper for integrated programming in One Health and planetary health, and tabled at Ministerial High-Level Roundtable on Biodiversity and Health at the CBD COP14. As the ancestors of Oceania's peoples used meticulous observations of the oceanic elements, trial and error, commitment, determination, and innovation to design vessels that could journey out into the unknown, we now also need deep vision and courage to visualize new ways to connect us with and beyond our current horizons, and to support place-based integration of regional concerns within planetary discourse. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for the beautiful images of the area, and I see some claps and the waters in which we're surrounded. Thanks, Aaron. And so to springboard us forward, we've taken a look back at where we've been in that conversation in 2018, where I understand we had lots of people from the Oceania contributing to that development of the call to action. And also Sandeep has pointed out local passion, equity, leadership, transparency, co-creation as a springboard for the hub. So part 2 is the Oceania Hub planning conversations, and here are the guiding questions. So now I'm going to try and work my magic very quickly and send us into breakout rooms. And we have the benefit of Claire, Jason Pryor, Aaron, Fiona Armstrong, and also Karen to facilitate each of those breakouts. So there's the 4 questions. Give me a moment to try to efficiently send us out into breakout rooms where we'll have about 15 minutes to actually to continue the collaboration and creativity. Stand by. If anyone has anything fun to say, or while I'm sorting this out, please pick up the mic.
Hi everyone, it's Claire here, the co-host, and I just want to say thanks so much to everyone for posting some really fantastic links to papers and resources in the chat box. So we are recording the session, and we'll be capturing the chat as well in that recording, but we would like to also provide you with links to these at the end as well if we can. But it's great to see some really good links coming through, so thanks everyone. And we'll be moving into our rooms shortly, but as Rebecca said, we'll have about 15 minutes to work through these 4 questions. And at the end of that, each of the facilitators, if they could just mention one key point from each of their sessions when we come back into the main room, that would be fantastic.
Tony, would you mind looking after a room? I can't find Claire. Tony, can I dob in a mate?
Yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'm going to do that now. The people heading out, Claire. I'm just doing it a bit manually actually at the moment. Are people heading out, Claire?
Yeah, sorry, Rebecca. Yeah, I was nodding away. Yes. Yeah, I can see people are moving to rooms.
All right, I'm just doing it manually, crawling through it. I'd say it's like watching grass grow, but actually watching grass grow these days is very pleasurable to see grass thriving, particularly our sea grasses.
Yeah, it is a bit slow, everyone, but hang in there. You'll join a room shortly.
Yeah. How many people have I got left, Claire?
There's 14 still to be assigned. Or 13 now. It's dropping down to 12. 11.
Margot, why are you still in here? Have I not assigned you?
I don't know why you couldn't find me. Maybe it was the original post, perhaps. But
I'm so close now.
We're getting there.
It's an endurance event, not a sprint.
Yeah, that's it. Down to 7, 6.
Oh, you're very patient with me. Thank you, everyone.
Down to 4.
All right. Susan, you've been particularly good. Oh. Is there, and who have I got? Oh, it's a bit random. How am I going, Claire?
I can still see Sonia's got not joined against her name. Do we click on that? And
I can't see her. So I might be able to pop in the rooms and see if it's going all okay. Tony's in 5. Fiona's in 4. Karen's in 3. Jason's in 2. Aaron's in 1. I wonder if Claire, you might go and join in with Jason.
Sure. Do you know how to move me there, or?
No.
And so we still got a few people in the room here. Sonia, sorry, we're trying to get you into
I think it's, yeah, I can't see.
I'll try and move Sonia into room 1. Okay.
Yep.
And then is there anyone else not in a room?
Julia, I think.
Let's have a look. Sonia's not moving. That's a bit odd. Saying not joined.
I know, so they have to join at their end. So,
oh, okay. They haven't accepted it at their end. Okay. Yep, it looks like we're all sorted.
All right. Do you want to pop into a room?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that. I think, can you move me?
Have you put the questions in?
I'll post them here again.
Just acknowledging we're recording. Sorry, guys.
Yep.
Listen to our admin conversation. Yeah, I can't move you because you're the host.
Do you want me to move you to a room?
No, I know how to do it. I just can't do you. I'll pop in. You know how to do it, Chloe? Just open up breakout rooms and you can see it. What time is it? I'll join 1. Claire, I jumped in and started talking about.
All right, I'll join room 1 then.
Oh, you go into 1, I'll go into 2 then.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
Can anyone hear me?
Hi, Vanessa. I can. Vanessa, pick up your mic.
Hi Rebecca, can you hear me? It's Charlotte here. I seem to have dropped out of my room, I think. Something went on.
And we're back.
We're all dropping back.
Mid-conversation.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. No, it's all right. We got some good stuff there, and thank you for those final remarks, Jeannie. I think very important remarks there.
Right. On that, I wonder if I might call on each group facilitator, acknowledging that there was probably a range of points raised that are all extremely valuable, but perhaps bring forward one idea or message from each room, just as a nod to that we had different spaces operating and different conversations. I might turn, Jason, you're on my left-hand corner.
Yeah,
you're the first person I looked at.
Yep.
What's the message you would like to bring forward?
One of the key messages is it's very complex, trying to create interconnectivity. One of the major localized or cultural points that was brought forward is this can be done by drawing on what Pacific Islanders are great at, and that is cross-island work. And that manifested itself in many different ways through things like Rebecca mentioned systems thinking and trying to bring all the different types of health together for the Oceania. And Kalara was mentioning the importance of connectivity and getting everyone together, but keeping localized feelings.
Beautiful. There was some weaving there as well. Thanks, Jason. Who else did we have? Karen.
Oh, I'm not even unmuted. I was going to mute myself then. So we had a sort of a in and out and a roundabout type of conversation, and we had Manuela from the Latin American Hub, and that was really interesting to have her tell us about what their learnings were, and noting that the politics of government deniers is always is another big challenge that we have. We had questions around the logistical mechanisms, the who and the resources, and how is it going to be located, and is it in one place, or how are we going to build that into it. We sort of got to the final sort of conversation before we zapped out that a federated model might be a nicer way where everything is controlled locally, and we sort of come together in forums to share what we learn, and that's the space. And so the local space has the control, and the overarching group of people in different locations come together to share. So thanks.
Thanks, Karen. Aaron.
Thank you. I think, we started with kind of, it's not really whether we should do this, but how. And Margot made the comment of, what is the hook that we have that's going to make us all feel comfortable and in what we're doing. I think that we kind of finished with a unanimous appreciation that the vision that was presented by Donald of Tandra Vanua was something that kind of met all the criteria that we would like to see of something that's, in the region, for the region, led by the region, and is something that we could get behind to support and grow. And so I think that was kind of where we were transmogrified back into this space again.
Thanks, Aaron. After the call, you can tell me what transmogrified means. I've got a new word.
I just made it up.
Okay. Fiona.
Thank you. Enjoyed the discussion. We mainly talked about who to bring in. So the fact that there are key groups like public health who have a medical background, One Health groups who might have come out of sort of animal health, ecologists, plant and plant health, about, you know, some of those kind of definitions are perhaps contested, but also government, industry, community and Indigenous people and groups being highlighted is absolutely critical, that if we don't have Indigenous participation and perspectives, the whole thing will fall over, I think was one quote. Collaboration was noted as absolutely key. Some of the challenges being diversity and geography, that human health is privileged over plant and animal health in terms of, you know, funding and capacity to bring those perspectives, and that there are policy gaps. So, you know, no mandate from government to support this.
Thanks, Fiona. And Tony.
Thanks very much, Rebecca. I think a key message from our group was that very much we want to think about what value would this hub add to what's already happening. You know, we've all spoken about the various networks that are already happening, and so how do we ensure that it's not trying to take over in any sense? It's really adding value and benefiting and continuing to facilitate the work of others, whether it's the Oceania chapter of the eco health effort, or as has been pointed out, the various One Health piece of work, and the broader efforts in sustainable development, which really have been going for decades in various ways. And what we're really about is advancing that together. So thank you very much.
Thanks to all the facilitators, and thanks everyone for engaging in that conversation. Look, in summary, what I heard is that we've rediscovered that, yes, we want to go forward together, that they're critical groups that are absolutely essential to moving forward together, in particular Indigenous-led knowledge and peoples to take us forward, that the SDGs and the Tandra manure was something that bubbled up for us over and over again. But as in any great workshop with the bringing together of minds, there's more questions posed than answered, which is what value and what benefits would it bring? How do we do this? What does it look like? Who to bring in? So more questions to resolve. But my suggestion is, and I think Claire is just about to share this for us, that I've put together a Google Doc that could be a place that we may share our intent by popping our name down and a contact, so that Claire and I, in the first instance, can summarise through a process. We're qualitative participatory researchers, so we're going to trawl back through the recording and the notes on the side today and bring forward some themes and share the recording likewise with the 2.0 recording about the launch of the new hub model. We'll provide that summary of outcomes, and perhaps if there's appetite that we may reconvene to continue and workshop responses to these questions. That's the offer that Claire and I can make as the first, well, it's not a first step, one of many steps that we're taking forward together. But thank you again for all of your participation. If there's any final comments that anyone wants to make before we draw a line under and move on with the rest of our day. Thank you.
Rebecca and Claire, just tell you guys, thanks very much. We are here, me and Jeremy, to support right through, and we'll get all those stuff to you. I just spoke to Jeremy there, and we are getting a good package to you as well soon. So here to and support.
And good luck with the rest of the meeting. Just to let you know that there's a lot happening this week. So please jump on and look at the other sessions that are happening all of the time, basically for the whole week. Is that right, Sandeep?
Yep, it's now 10 p.m. at night, so I'm going to sign off.
Thank you.
Go and rest. Go and rest.
Thanks, thanks very much.
Take care,
Yes, yeah.
Thanks again,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye
Yes,
for now.
bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Well done, Rebecca. Great work.
Thanks, Fiona.
Thanks for your time, everyone.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah. Rebecca, do you know if this
Thanks
will be
very much,
recorded?
Rebecca. Very nice to join.
Thank
I'm sorry.
you. What was that,
Will,
Susan?
Will this all be recorded, the whole conference, all the sessions?
This session's recorded. I anticipate that the other sessions are recorded, but I'll link you with Sandeep if you like, and he could probably answer that for you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Bye
Good
for
night.
now.
Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye. Have we stopped the recording?
I am now.